Now, moving on to the final suspect that you had mentioned, Mr. Hall. What did you learn about Devin Hall in your course of reviewing this case?
So Devin Hall arrived in Minot on June 2nd. There's some dispute on that, but by everything that I've reviewed, it's my assertion that he arrived in Minot on or before June 2nd.
Okay. Now, you testified that there's been testimony about June 2nd. Do you mean that there's been testimony that he arrived the following day?
Yes.
Okay. Why do you think that he arrived on June 2nd or earlier?
Well, he said so in his first interview, and then later changed it to, well, it was the 2nd or 3rd, and then later changed it to, well, it was the 3rd or the 4th. I reviewed documents and listened to testimony that Nova Wetsit, I believe his aunt, said no, it was on the 3rd and provided a video in support of that. However, the time stamp on that video is, I believe, January 1st of 2000. So the date had not been set. There's nothing to indicate on that video what the date was that it was recorded. And the copy that I read is a digital copy of an analog tape. So it was VHS, it's been converted into digital. There's no metadata, there's nothing to authenticate the date of that. Now I've scoured that video for any kind of clues of when it could have been taken. You know, somebody holding a doc in a newspaper or anything. You know, the print would be awfully fine, but I didn't see anything.
And this video is from the train station?
This is from this train station.
And isn't it true in the video that never shows Devin Hall getting off the train on
Objection on her leading. Overruled.
So the video shows a group of people walking from the train, but I never see him getting off of the train. So I see a group of young men, actually a lot of people, and within that group of a lot of people, this group that she seems to be focused on, and the camera is not very good. It's all over the place. I believe that's him walking away, but I don't know if he got off the train or if he met those people and is now walking to gather with his family.
And you had an opportunity during the case, or during the course of your investigation in this case, to review the train records, correct?
I did.
Do you remember them verbatim, or would it help you if I refresh your recollection?
I'll look at it.
Okay. Your Honor,
That's not the way it works. Ask him the question, Mr.
Sure, Your Honor. Do you recall looking at the train records?
I do.
Do you remember them verbatim?
No.
Still not the way to ask the question. He doesn't remember them verbatim. Do you have a question about the train records?
Sure, Your Honor.
Ask it.
After reviewing the train records, do you recall the dates that are on those train records?
There's a variety of dates, one of which is June 2nd and June 3rd.
Okay, on June 2nd, do you see Devin Hall's name on the train records?
I do not.
Do you see other people's names from his group on those train records?
I do.
Do you recall those names?
Jaron Vivier, Nova Wetsit. I believe there's a couple others, but I don't recall.
Now, that's not 100% what I'm seeing. Would it refresh your recollection if I showed you a copy?
It would.
Your Honor, may I approach?
You may.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Did that refresh your recollection?
It did.
Kouns? You had stated that you had seen Jaron Vivier on these records. Isn't it true that he's on these records in May, correct?
Correct.
He's not on the train in June, correct?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, he's at the very top, and that's a different date.
And after looking at this, is it fair to say, or did you see Devin Hall's name on it?
I did not.
Okay. And did you see anybody's name that you recognized?
I did.
And who's that?
There's a couple of Wetsits on there. I believe there's a Romero that I recognized. I feel like he was one of their friends or family, but I can't recall for sure.
Those two individuals were on the June 2nd train,
Correct.
which is Saturday.
Correct.
And there's been testimony that Anita wasn't killed until the early hours of Sunday morning, correct?
Correct.
So that would give that group time to get to Minot.
It would.
Whether or not Devin Hall's name's on this, if he was traveling with that group, he would have been in Minot by the 2nd.
Correct.
There's been some testimony about Mr. Hall's arrest in Minot a number of days after Anita's murder. Do you recall that?
I do.
Did you look into that at all in your review of the case file?
Yes, I did.
And what are your thoughts on that?
So on June 11th, Mr. Hall was arrested. He had broken into an apartment through the window and attempted to sexually assault a woman there. She cried out. Her boyfriend came running in, chased him back out of that window. A fight ensued. He ran away again, entered yet another apartment in the same complex, and was ultimately caught hiding in a closet with a steak knife in his back pocket.
Was he taken to jail after that?
He was.
In your review of the file, did you find anything about jail calls?
I did.
What did you find out about that?
Several jail calls were recorded to family members. I believe there were 2 family members on one call, and then there was a separate call. In both instances, he claimed the knife as his own, and not just any knife. He said that was his knife.
Now, during a review of the file, have you had an opportunity to look at photos of the murder weapon, the knife in this case?
I have.
Your Honor, may I approach?
You may.
Now, Agent Kouns, I'm going to put, am I getting picked up here? Thank you. Now, Agent Kouns, I'm going to show you a couple photographs that have already been entered into evidence in this case. They're State's Exhibit 7I and 7J. Can you please take a look at those for me and then let me know when you've had a chance to review them?
Yes, I've seen these.
Can you please explain to me what I just put?
This is the murder weapon, the knife that killed Anita.
Okay. And is this the knife that Devin Hall identified as being in his possession?
He did, and it's very identifiable in that it's missing the emblem on the other side. So I know a lot of these knives were made, a lot of them were sold. I don't know how many were sold in the state of North Dakota or Montana, and I don't know how many of them would be missing exactly the same medallion that he agreed was missing from his own knife. So this is the knife that Devin claimed was his.
And I'll keep those up there with you. Is the missing medallion the only thing that's unique about the state of this knife?
No.
What
I mean,
else?
it's pretty, I've never seen one like it until this case. It's a folding pocket knife. It's fairly large. It's got a decorative handle. It's kind of copper colored. There's many things that are unique about this knife.
Now, Sergeant Asham had testified that this was a very common knife. What, in your experience as an investigator, what is the coincidence of something like this, the missing medallion, knife being used in a murder, and then another person possessing the same type of knife that had a missing medallion in a case like this?
Astronomical.
Can I have those back, please? Agent Kouns, can you describe, well, first of all, have you seen photographs of Devin Hall?
I have.
Can you describe him to the court?
He's over 6 foot tall. I think 6'2", 6'3", maybe at most. 6'2", I believe. 200 plus pounds. At the time, well, can you specifically now or then?
At the time.
At the time, he looks fit, about 200 pounds, 6'2", short hair, dark hair. I don't know what color his eyes are. It matches the description given by Becky Ehrman of a person that she saw running away from the scene that night.
Now, I had asked you if you'd seen photographs. Have you also reviewed descriptions of Devin Hall in the case file and reports and such?
I have.
Now, you mentioned Becky Ehrman. There's been testimony about Miss Ehrman seeing a man running away from the scene with what could have been a bloodied shirt, a dirtied shirt.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that?
Again, highly coincidental that a person matching the description almost to a T of Devin Hall seen running away from the area of the crime scene with a dirty or bloody shirt is something I, as an investigator, am going to thoroughly pursue.
Now, there's been some testimony presented by the state about the criminal history of Devin Hall. Did you have a chance to look into that?
I have.
What can you tell the court?
Since Anita's death, he has been convicted of 4 counts of similar crimes on 3 separate incidences.
And what types of crimes are those?
Breaking into apartments and sexually assaulting women or attempting to.
Okay. And you mentioned earlier that when he was arrested in Minot, he was found with a knife.
Yes.
And
Different knife, but a knife, yep.
sure. Given everything that you reviewed in this case, well, strike that. I'm going to come back, Your Honor. What law enforcement agencies were involved in the investigation in this case?
Multiple. There was the Minot PD, the North Dakota BCI, tribal law enforcement, and federal law enforcement, the FBI.
The FBI?
Correct.
What was the FBI's involvement in this case?
FBI was mostly a consulting role. Materials were provided to the Behavioral Analysis Unit, which are commonly known as profilers. They were looking for assistance in identifying who might be responsible for this.
Did they have any suggestions?
They did.
What was that?
They felt the strongest suspect in this case was Devin Hall.
This is the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
It is.
Now, you might be a little biased towards the FBI, obviously spending 22 years there, but what type of weight did you garner from that when you read that in the case file?
A lot. In addition to their assessment, it was my own assessment as well, independently.
So just to follow up on that, in your expert opinion, what is Devin Hall's connection to this case?
I believe he's the most likely suspect in my opinion, and if I were investigating this, I would tie down a lot of these loose ends that they've left open.
And you had testified earlier that this was not one of the 4 suspects that when the investigation was reopened with Cole Justice and they were assisting Sergeant Asham, he was not on the list.
He was not on the list, and I was dumbfounded as to why isn't the person that appears to me as the strongest suspect not even visited in this show.
How would you rate the overall investigation in this case?
I hate to be critical, but not very good.
Why is that?
There's a lack of attention to detail. There's a lack of thoroughness. They seem to spend a lot of attention running down dead-end rabbit holes while glossing over some very important facts, details.
What, if anything, about this case piques your interest?
I don't think we have the correct person being charged, in my opinion, and being a law enforcement background and a person that investigates for a living, I would like, if given the opportunity, I would like to investigate this further. There's a lot more work to do.